So the practices in second trimester, you gather all the information from your caregiver and the guidelines they follow, because they have some protocols in any hospitals, any organization. They have their own set of protocols and guidelines that they will follow. For example, they will not wait beyond your due date. This is one of the protocol. But what is a due date? How do you calculate a due date? It is from your last menstrual period, or LMP. It is only because we are able to remember that date, we calculate based on that. But nobody knows when we have had the baby formed, right? So we can due date and the pregnancy LMP is only an approximate estimated date. EDD is estimated delivery date. So check with them if they can go beyond and wait for your baby to start the process. Some countries wait for up to 42 weeks. Some countries only wait for 40 weeks. Some countries don't even wait for 40 weeks. They have some reason to give you, and ending up in cesareans because of non-medical reasons. So gather these information and guidelines and see if you can, if it goes with your intuition, or if you want to change. And understanding the prenatal anatomy and the process of birth in the second trimester is very important, because in the first trimester you don't feel any difference in your body, but in the second trimester, as your uterus moves and grows, your digestive system, circulatory system, they all go away and they accommodate your growing baby. So we'll look into this in detail in the next few slides. We'll finish off with the preparation for third trimester. Third trimester, gestational diabetes, thyroids, weight gain, exercises, labor and birth. This is your preparation. So you don't have to note down anything from the table again, because we are going to be sharing all the takeaway notes with the WhatsApp group. So gestational diabetes and thyroid, it has become very common in pregnancy, right? But is it normal? Whatever is common, is it normal? Is what is the question. If you follow a very nice disciplined nutrition and lifestyle, you might not have to go through gestational diabetes and thyroid, and you don't have to take any kind of supplements. But if you do have gestational diabetes or thyroid, check for alternative healing techniques, something like creative healing. It is a very simple and beautiful technique. It is a book by Dr. Stephen Sun's Creative Healing, where your husband or your mother can learn this technique from a therapist who will be able to teach. It is like simple draining techniques. They drain the stagnation and stimulate the organ to secrete that particular hormone. If, for example, for gestational diabetes, you stimulate the pancreas and remove the heat by doing the vacuum technique with their palm, and it stimulates insulin secretion. So you will get rid of gestational diabetes in pregnancy, because it is one of the reasons for a cesarean. So if you're able to handle your gestational diabetes and thyroid, you can your chances of having a normal vaginal delivery is high. So exercises and labor and birth also we will see in detail in the next slide. So practices in third trimester is managing a very healthy diet and creative healing techniques, breathing techniques and types of birth. You have to be aware of the types of birth that are available, and partner assisted birthing techniques. And partner assisted birthing techniques are very common these days. So breathing techniques, you don't have to go through a lot and all. Just controlled abdominal breathing. You don't have to do mouth breathing. Mouth breathing is very decelerating, especially in pregnancy. I've learned a couple of breathing techniques from my prenatal classes, but this was the only technique that went with my line of thoughts. Breathing, very controlled, rhythmic breathing. So, and this one important practice, Yoni Pichu, in the third trimester, I will show you how it is done. You take a old sari, cotton sari, or a cotton cloth, or a dhoti cloth. you make it into a potly like this, and you soak it in olive oil or gingerly oil for about 3 to 4 hours in the day, and night when you go to bed. This can be done after completion of 37 weeks or the beginning of 38 weeks. So you soak it for 3 to 4 hours in the oil, and wear a very old dress or a old petticoat and insert this inside your vagina. Okay, so what this does, what's the role of this? Even if you have not followed anything from the beginning, if you do just this, you minimize the chances of having a natural tear or an episiotomy. Okay, so what this does is the oil will let the muscles become more elastic. The perineum muscle is one of the strongest muscle in the body. For me, I like to call it is the Mooladharam. It is the basic of women. It is a very beautiful muscle. If you don't know, perineum is the muscle that connects your vagina and your anal opening. So it is one of the strongest muscles, but in most of the normal deliveries, they are torn or they are done, they are cut with for non-medical reasons also. So if you are able to do yoni pitchu, this can be done even on a regular basis on your during your cycle, no? During your ovulation time, this can be done on month basis, not necessary in the pregnancy, but please do it in your pregnancy, in your third trimester. It helps. It has helped a lot of my friends have a normal vaginal delivery without any tear. So the feeling of oneness, and as I told you, rhythmic controlled breathing is very important in the third trimester. The feeling of oneness, when the baby is fully grown, you and the baby are not different. When you have a cold or cough, the baby's immune system will support you. When the baby is having some discomfort, your immune system will support you. So the placenta takes over the whole endocrine system during women's pregnancy, and that is why there is a huge hike in estrogen. And so we'll go to the next slide where we will see about the maternal changes in pregnancy. So the role of hormones like progesterone, estrogen, HCG, oxytocin, and relaxin. These are, you have to know these terms. They should not be like Greek and Latin in your pregnancy. You will definitely go through these hormones if you have not studied them earlier. Weight gain, changes in the organ system of a mother, like digestive system, circulatory system, urinary system, and the growth of uterus. Sequence of changes leading to labor and birth. This is, I put it in a very sequential track. So the role of hormones, what a progesterone does during your pregnancy is it prohibits the follicular phase. So it restricts the uterus to produce ovum. Estrogen, as I told you, the placenta takes over your endocrine system. So the androgens from the mother and the baby, they convert the whole thing into estrogen to supply and support the nutrition and growth of the fetus. HCG, if you know, HCG is the pregnancy test that we do, right? So when you take your blood work or your urine sample, the hike in HCG indicates the pregnancy in a mother. Oxytocin. Oxytocin is the happiness hormone which is responsible for the contractions and childbirth. Relaxin is the most oxytocin and relaxin are equally important. Relaxin is very important during labor and birth. If relaxin is suspended and if your adrenaline goes high, then labor and childbirth gets a little tricky. So to keep yourself in supply of relaxin, you have to be relaxed. You don't have to do anything else. Just be relaxed. Relaxed means calm, focused, relax. Right? So weight gain in pregnancy, I've mentioned here. Usually when a child is born, average Asian Indian child weighs from 3.2 to 3.6 kgs. The placenta and the membrane contribute to about 1.8 kgs. Similarly, amniotic fluid, the breast tissues, and the blood volume of a mother, they have like about 1 to 1.5 kgs in excess. Then the fat and the uterus contribute about 2.3 to 4.1 kgs. So average, so that is the weight distribution. So average women weighs from something about 10 to 16.3 kgs, but that doesn't mean you have to definitely gain 10 kgs or 16 kgs. This is an average. Like average means you take 100 women throughout their pregnancy, what has happened, and you divide that by 100, right? So this is on an average, but I gained only about 8 kgs during my pregnancy, and still I was healthy. So this is for you to understand what is the weight distribution. So you don't relate food and weight gain. The nutrition is what is important, and it is not about the quantity of food. So and also, if you are going to gain a lot of weight, it doesn't mean the baby will also gain a lot of weight, right? So if, for example, in my case, in my first baby, I never gained weight at all till the almost end of 35, 36 weeks. That is when I started gaining a couple of kgs. But then my baby was quite small as per the ultrasound. Okay. So everybody started telling that I have not gained weight. That is why the baby is very small, and so on. There were a lot of judgments that I didn't take care of myself, as I was all alone in my pregnancy. So your weight gain or not gaining weight doesn't correspond to the baby gaining weight or not gaining weight. And I would like to emphasize one small thing here with regards to ultrasounds, because we rely on the ultrasounds, right? There are, I think, about 5 times you take ultrasound scans during a pregnancy. But think if it is really required, if you really want to, at least you can request your caregiver that you don't want to take, whether they take your consent before asking you to go get a scan done, because it is high frequency waves which are interfering with your baby. See, even in the airport there is a lot of frisking and all, and they say, you, if you request, this is not for everyone. I'm telling for someone who doesn't want to take a scan, but they are forced to do it. If you don't want to take a scan, at least show your express yourself that you don't want to take a scan. That's all. Okay. So changes in the organ system during pregnancy: the digestive system, circulatory system, urinary system. These three are the most changes that happen in a mother's system. So the digestive system, they move away to accommodate the uterus. So the uterus, the upper side of the uterus moves up, fading away the digestive system. The lower end of the uterus puts pressure on your excretory system or the urinary system. So that is why you get a lot of heartburn, and you also, the frequency of urination increases in the third trimester is because of this, and the growth of uterus. So the sequence of changes leading to labor and childbirth is, once the baby is fully ready, the last thing that will mature in a baby is the lung. When the lung and the liver are ready, the baby sends signal to the mama's brain and the mama's system, I am ready. So it helps in oxytocin that will initiate the labor. So that is how it works. That is why in medical necessary cases of preterm births, they give injections and steroids to mature the lungs of the babies. So we'll go to the next slide. Postures and exercises in pregnancies. These the exercises and postures, as I told you, exercise doesn't mean exerting yourself. Exercises are something that will keep you active and moving. Tailor sitting is nothing but cross-legged sitting on the floor on your seating bone. When you sit on the floor, you remove the flesh from your butt and sit on your bone. So this is called tailor sitting, and your knee should touch the ground. When the first time you sit, your knee will not be anything closer to the floor, but you stretch and sit on the floor with your knee touching the ground. Next is squatting or the Indian toilet posture. We don't have any more Indian toilets in a lot of Indian households itself. So squat, 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 or the when you also do the squat, whatever postures I've mentioned here, the tailor sitting, squatting, pelvic rocking, legs apart, butterfly, and Kegel, they are all hip opening. They open your hip and help the pelvic in action on the day of delivery. See, when you want to run a marathon, you're ready with your mind, your body. Sorry, not with your body. You're ready with your mind. I want to run. I want to run. I want to run. My baby is fine. I want to run. All that is fine. But when you run, you might not be able to do it if you are not able to sit and practice these postures from the third trimester, because your body has to get used to it. The muscle has to expand. They have to have their elasticity. So don't ask me what time of the day I have to do this. Whenever you sit, you have to sit in any one of this posture only. Posture is very important in pregnancy. So it helps you keep your spine and the circulatory system well balanced, and it improves your chances of having a lot of back pain. So Kegels is the pelvic floor exercise. When you control your example, how you do it is you control your urine. When you want to pass urine, you will be able to feel that muscle. It is very important exercise during pregnancy. You can do up to 20 to 30 Kegels at the beginning and slowly start increasing it 10 by 10. Walking on non-man-made floor on barefoot, which I've already mentioned, you can start after your 37th week. You can start walking at a stretch for 1 hour, or sometimes about 3,000 steps. Some people do walk for 10,000 steps, but I don't personally prefer so much of exertion. And climbing 300 steps from the end of 38th week, you can even do it at the end of 39th week when you are in the beginning of 40, like 1 week before your estimated due date. If your caregiver is able to wait for another couple of weeks, well and good. Climbing 300 steps, there was one controversy here. Climbing 300 steps and walking 10,000 steps. When you have an app, you have a app to calculate how much you walk. There is a lot of difference between climbing steps and walking steps, where one mother misunderstood the walking 3,000 steps to climbing 3,000 steps, and she filed a case against her caregiver. So understand the difference between both. Climbing steps helps in the pelvic movement at the end of 39th week. We'll go to the next slide. How to get your body ready for birth. Blooming tails. Have you seen a flower bloom, or at least in a video or something? It doesn't happen like that. It's slow, slow, slow. And if you've noticed, when does it happen? Mostly when it is having no noise, no environmental disturbance, and when it is able to focus, right? That is how a cervix will open and dilate to facilitate birth. So awareness of the anatomy and the process of birth. So you have to know as I told you in the previous slide, your body does a lot of work. Only thing we have to do from outside is not interfere with it. You support the body, staying away from it, and not disturb it with a lot of activities or a lot of stimulations, because it becomes very tricky for the body, because it is already complementing and comprehending and compromising a lot of things for you. So be aware of your anatomy. One thing I want to specify here is the words vagina, vulva, anal opening. You have to, I don't know how many of us are able to pronounce these words, because we have always been shamed from our childhood for pronouncing our reproductive system and the words related to it. But one humble request is, please pronounce the words in the right way so that you are able to understand what is happening inside of you. If you're not able to express those words to your caregiver or your spouse or your mother, that communication itself becomes lagging. So be aware of the specific organ, their name, and how you can pronounce them. So trust in your body. As I told you, it does a lot of work for you. Your only job is to not to interfere with its flow of process. And relaxation. Relaxation is be calm, don't have too many things to follow. Like my first pregnancy, I was very excited. I wanted to have a supernatural birth. I went for hypnobirthing. I went for prenatal classes. I went to the hospital that gave me prenatal classes. I got very confused and ended up having a cesarean because I had too much of information. So we learn from our mistakes and we evolve, right? So relaxation is very important. You know what you want, you know what is happening, so you know what you have to do and how you can prepare your partner or your family members for birth. So go into your safe space and connect with your baby. Safe space for me is my reproductive system. When I sit for 5 minutes with myself, I can go inside and I can say, okay, I have at least one place to go where nobody can intrude or nobody can encroach. So you have to go inside of you. Anything can be your safe space. Okay. So when even with too many people around you, you will be able to find your own safe space if you start practicing it. You close your eyes, sit with yourself for 5 minutes. In that time, nobody will be visible to you. You can create that beautiful safe space and you will be able to connect with the baby and visualize the baby. So as previously I gave one example of drinking cold water. So when you drink cold water, you feel the chillness here, you feel it till it reaches your stomach. So similarly, visualize what is happening inside you. You will definitely be able to connect with everything that is happening. You can close your, if you open your eyes when you see the outside world, when you close your eyes, you'll be seeing the world inside you. So, and yoga nidra. We've been practicing yoga nidra after I attended the holistic living workshop in 2017 with our community. So you be very aware and you relax your body. Yoga nidra doesn't mean you sleep. You be aware, you be conscious, and you let go of everything. And the needs of a birthing mother. As I told you, a flower will bloom in solitude, in mostly in darkness. Early morning or late night, it is in darkness. Quiet and calmness, physical comfort, controlled breathing, and appearance of sleep. These are the 6 needs of a birthing mother. So, darkness and solitude. If you visited ancient temples in our country, the Garbhagraha or the sanctum is always with a dim light, right? Very dim light. It is very dark. That is how you can be during your labor and birth. We'll quickly go to the stages of labor and birth. The physical stages of labor are the dilation and the effacement, pushing the baby out of your body and expelling the placenta. There are various types of birth: vaginal birth, natural birth, cesarean, a scheduled or unscheduled induction. To discuss about the types of birth, it is very huge and it is a very broad spectrum. We might not be able to discuss now. But what is the difference between natural birth and vaginal birth alone? I would like to emphasize. If you ask a woman who's delivered vaginally, she would tell there was nothing very normal about having a normal delivery. So, natural birth is a non-intervened birth that a mother can accomplish where they cannot interfere with your preferences or choices of birthing. And the various pain management techniques for any kind of labor and birth are epidurals, laughing gas, hypnobirthing, mental imagery, and the floating technique. Floating technique is when you limp, sag, you let all the other organs freeze so that your uterus will do the work. And the process of childbirth, I'll give a very simple and easy example. How a pillow cover is removed from a pillow, a tight pillow. So you gradually remove it. If you remove it with force, it will tear. So that is how birth happens. And finally, the immunization and the stem cell, this is postpartum. Talk to elders and find out what did they follow with the umbilical cord or the placenta. You will find interesting answers. So I think that is the end of this session. The Prasava Raksha is about the postpartum care, which will be shared on the notes that we give you on the WhatsApp group. If you have any questions with regards to birth and pregnancy, please do ask in the comment. I'll be happy to answer. Okay, the reasons for hemoglobin drop in the pregnancy, especially in the third trimester, is a beautiful sign of the body blood volume increasing in a mother, and it paves way for a normal delivery. You don't have to suddenly start eating something to increase the hemoglobin during the third trimester. It should be higher in the first trimester and it gradually drips as the pregnancy progresses. But you can daily take apple, beetroot, and carrot together. You can just blend them together. You don't require any kind of sweetness or anything. You can take this on a daily basis. It keeps your hemoglobin stable. It will not drop to a very low level and give you a reason to end up having a preterm delivery.